In our hotel, in the middle of the night, we were called down to the front desk and warned that we must not report. But that is our job as journalists, to go to where the silence is. We could not count the number of people who are desperately trying to tell us their stories. We had had a similar experience years before. Similar years, 1975, Morocco invaded Western Sahara. In 1975, Indonesia invaded East Timor. And we covered that invasion and the subsequent 17-year occupation, surviving the 1991 Santa Cruz massacre in East Timor and Dili, the capital, when 270 Timorese were killed by Indonesian soldiers armed with US M16s. They ultimately, though, in 1999, the Timorese, got a chance to vote for their freedom in a UN-sponsored referendum. They voted for independence. The UN was in charge of Timor-Leste for 3 years, and then one of the newest nations in the world was born, the Democratic Republic of East Timor, Timor-Leste. In Western Sahara, it has been a different story. But what we saw, the repression, the fear, people telling us their stories, almost not moving their mouths, not wanting to be seen, talking to Western journalists. That's the story we found in Leon. That's the story we found when we went to a human rights organization, saw the monitors as we were walking in. It's not necessarily intimidation for us as Western journalists. But for the people who want to tell their stories, it is a matter of life and death. That's the risk they are willing to take. As a protest was happening in one part of town in Leon, we were in another part of town, surrounded by dozens of those dressed in Sahrawi garb. We could see the secret police monitoring, surrounding our car, keeping us in this one place, a crowd of people to prevent us from getting from one place to another. But still, the people were so desperate they risked everything to speak to us. Until soon we were summoned to the Wali's government, to his house, and we ultimately had to leave after 4 days, but with the stories of, for example, the women you hear here. We cannot underestimate the bravery of Galyajimi, of Sultana Khaya, who sits beautiful behind her glasses but has lost one eye. She didn't talk about that. It was gouged out by a Moroccan agent. But she continued, and through that one functioning eye, we are also able to get a perspective on what is happening in Western Sahara. Our job as journalists is to show the images. There is a story in the United States that is very well known of a 14-year-old African-American boy named Emmett Till, who was in Mississippi with his uncle and aunt and his cousins in 1955 and was lynched by a white mob, ended up in the bottom of the Tallahatchie River. His body was sent back to Chicago, and his mother, Mamie Till, had something very important to teach the press and everyone today. She said for the wake and the funeral, she wanted the casket open so we could see the distended, mutilated head of her 14-year-old beautiful boy, Emmett. She wanted the world to see the ravages of racism, the brutality of bigotry. And so we saw, because they were printed in black magazines in the United States, and they were seared into the history and consciousness of our country and the US. Well, it is our job as journalists, to show those images wherever they are around the world. I do think if we saw the images of war, whether we're talking about people, Palestinians dead on the ground in Gaza, or if we saw the video of Sultana having her eye gouged out, or at home under house arrest, where Democracy Now!, our broadcast, democracynow.org, interviewed her a few years ago. She was there with her mother. She was there continuing to resist. You have a sense of the level of repression and the level of a government not wanting to get out a story. When you see the images of these women, they are often vilified. Look, they're showing their bodies, how dare they? But when the Moroccan agents understand the shame, they go for the places you're not supposed to see. And for these women to show us the images, the level of bravery and courage cannot be underestimated. And we as journalists, and you as the public or diplomats, cannot avert our eyes. It's our responsibility in the international community to show what's happening, and then up to the global community to decide if this can continue. It is so critical that you're holding this session today. So rarely are these voices of pain brought inside. The Haima that we see outside, that we are covering as well on Democracy Now!, the traditional Sahrawi tent. Inside, once again, I just want to repeat, and what you have erected there, the malfas of 19 women, the dresses of 19 women who've been sexually abused or victims of political violence. We must know each of those stories. The QR code couldn't be shown as it usually is as it travels the world for each story, but people can check that out online. And you can go to democracynow.org to see the links, to hear the stories, so we can make the world, all of us, a better, safer, and more just place. Thank you so much.